I'll tell you one thing. This airport is a pretty tricky airport, and what they tend to do is only allow the most experienced pilots to come into Jackson. So be sure that your pilot is a very seasoned veteran. Very, very particular about it. There are some pluses to flying into this place. Tolerable pastures. We have, looks like a bald eagle flying just to our right, just about 1 o'clock up in the air right now. Actually looks like 2 of them, and one below 2. I don't want anybody to swear to it until I get closer, but by his wing beats and size, looks like that's what we have. It's the largest raptor in North America. That's a crow low, a raven low that is. Let's see what we got. Those ravens sometimes can really fool you. They'll act just like a bird of prey. They never cease to tick me off. That is a bald eagle. You can see he's an adult male, looks like. You can see the very distinctive white tail and white head. It takes 4 years for them to develop that. It's slowly starting to slow down. It's not uncommon to see 2 ravens like that pestering them. Just sitting down that tree right there. Reasons being too is that what the trappers and then the pioneers found out afterwards, what the natives already knew, was the Tetons really can act sort of the Grand Central hub to the Rocky Mountain chain. There's numerous passes that go to the northeast, southeast, northwest, southwest, so you can pretty much get to any section of the Rocky Mountains through the Tetons, and they come out here in pretty big numbers. The first white man who's credited for being in this valley is a man named John Coulter. He has a pretty interesting story. He was on the Lewis and Clark expedition, which traveled much further to the north and west of here, but he was a hunter for them. Spent 3 years with Lewis and Clark, and they're on the way back down the Missouri River, a couple days shy of being back to the only quote civilization that they've seen in 3 years, when John Coulter runs into 2 trappers from St. Louis who want to come out here and trap beaver, and they talk him into going with them. So he turns right around and comes right back out this way. And it's a bit of a long story. The partnership didn't last very long, and he ended up meeting up with another larger trapping expedition, and they set up a rather large trading post up in the Bighorn River up to the northeast of here. And in the winter of 1807, 1808, John Coulter was asked in this area where no one had been before. They knew there were natives down here, and they wanted someone to go down here and tell them that this trading post was set up and that they should bring all their beaver skins that they catch that summer up to the trading post in the fall. So John Coulter on his own leaves the Bighorn River and goes through what is now the town of Cody, Wyoming, works his way down the different mountain passes up here, and he either came down, we figured, the Crowbond, or maybe came down Togety, which is 10 miles to the north of here, but entered the valley in the middle of winter, crossed over Teton Pass into Idaho, and then worked his way up again up through the Teton Range to the west, back over and entered Yellowstone area, and then worked his way back up to the Bighorn. But pretty spectacular feat for one man in the middle of winter.
Really? A lot of walking in.
What's that?
Was he walking?
No, he was walking.
That's a lot of walking.
One of the things though to keep in mind when you hear tales like that, especially when you read about Lewis and Clark and the different trappers, they always make it sound like they were all on their own. One thing to keep in mind is that the trappers and early pioneers had a very intimate relationship with the native peoples. Lewis and Clark always spent the winter at an established Indian settlement. There's no question that, for example, John Coulter probably had guides throughout his trip, through the Crowbond. And trappers too, they used to have what they call their rendezvous, when all the trappers would get together to sell their furs and get gear for the following year. Usually 50% of the people there were the Shoshone Indians or different Indian tribes who had befriended the trappers. So there was a very intimate relationship between the different groups. There was only one tribe that was very hostile towards the settlers, towards the trappers, and other Indian groups, and that was the Blackfeet. They had a They were a very violent Indian tribe, and they were feared by both settlers and other Indians alike. That's by far, I think, the most beautiful part of it. Never tire of entering this area. One was through the Gros Ventre, which we're going to go through now. The other was up through the Hoback Canyon. And there were two towns. This is the town of Kelly right here. Obviously, you're in the town been in the town of Jackson. And they were actually pretty comparable in size, and they were both competing pretty heavily for the county seat. Which one was going to be the center of government. And we'll talk more about it, but in 1925, a major flood ripped through Kelly, or actually it was in 1927, excuse me, and flooded out a majority of the town, and it was never quite recovered from that. It's a very eclectic little town. Everything from your kind of ex-granola hippies to your very high conservative cattle ranchers have made a home here. You have what we call a yurt village, relatively inexpensive housing. Very eclectic little town. Kind of like it.
How old a Western is it?
You know, something I really don't know. My guess is somewhere in the 40s.
Probably seen it, didn't know it.
It's an old classic, which I haven't seen in a long time. Probably should get that out one of these cold, snowy nights. PCR.
I'll have to get it out now, I guess. Check it out. It's called Shane, huh?
Shane, yeah. I think Rocky IV was filmed out here. This was supposed to be the Soviet Union.
Oh, yeah?
Rocky was filmed out here. Spencer's Mountain was filmed up in Triangle X, about 10 miles to the north. And the classic of all times, Clint Eastwood's Every Which Way You Can, was filmed in Jackson, much to the embarrassment of about 90% of the town.
Oh yeah, why is that?
Oh, it's I don't think it was one of his better movies.
Oh yeah.
The only reason I watch it is just so I can laugh at some of the local people I know that are in the movie. You'll see the reason why Kelly never got the county seat. That is the Gros Ventre slide. That is the largest recorded landslide in history. We'll talk more about the geology later, but basically what you have here in the Gros Ventre are different sedimentary rock, which have been tilted all going from south to north, sometimes as much as 15 to 20 degrees. And what happened in 1925 is we had a very, very wet spring, and a layer of shale between the layers of limestone and sandstone got saturated. And that layer of shale kind of acted as a lubricant almost. And after what probably was triggered by a small earthquake, that whole side of the mountain just simply slid right down into the Gros Ventre Canyon. It was witnessed by 3 people. One was a rancher who had a gallop, barely got away with his life. He was looking for stray cattle on the northern side of the line and was galloping, had to gallop away to keep from getting killed.
Talking about this over here or this over here?
To the right, of the right side of the mountain where the snow is. We'll be passing right below it. Interestingly, there's actually a number of trees which made the trip. They kind of topped, 5 or 6 feet of soil where all the roots were on the trees, just slid right down with the whole slab, and there's actually trees that are growing right in the middle of the slide from that. But if I remember correctly, 50 million cubic feet of material were moved in less than 2 minutes.
Wow.
It actually came down with such force, it actually went 40 feet up the opposing bank. And created a rather large lake on the opposite side, which we'll see. Again, there were at least 2 established ranches within what now is the bottom of the lake. And the ranchers, of course, knew what was going to happen, and they worked like Dickens to get all their personal belongings out. And by the next day, their houses were underwater. This all happened in 1925. All the specialists at the time said the dam would hold and not to worry about it. But in 1927, again, there was a very, very wet spring, a very big runoff. And one of the old ranchers noticed a lot of water activity coming down the Grove line and decided to go up and investigate the dam. And on his way, working its way down the river, which means that the water had overflowed its banks. It was actually pouring over the top of the dam with great force. It was usually an early indication that the dam was about to give way. So he ran into the town of Kelly and warned everybody that the dam break was imminent. I think they had about 30-45 minutes of warning time. One family of 4 simply refused to leave, and they were killed in the subsequent flood. And then tragically, 2 ladies who had a small place together, they were actually working their way. They actually witnessed them drowning. The 2 of them were on their horse and wagon trying to get away from the front of the flood. And horses, of course, do some pretty nutty things sometimes when they're very scared, and both these horses actually turned right into the oncoming water, and they were both drowned. So 6 people lost their lives in the flood that followed. And of course, the town of Kelly took years to recover after that and lost any chance of getting a county seat. Vegetables versus freeze-dried vegetables or vegetables that have been frozen. A lot of the nutrients get destroyed in the freezing process and foraging times. And it's pretty amazing, especially for moose. They tend to be more sensitive than other animals. In really harsh winters and where the springs don't come for a really long time, you can have as high as 50% mortality amongst the yearlings. It's a very critical time of year. They tend to be pretty docile and actually tolerate the snowmobiles more than a lot of other animals. And there's always a chance to see one today. But the last study I saw is that when a bighorn sheep in winter goes through panics, their heart rate will go up to panic levels, and sometimes will remain there for over 8 hours. And they now believe that one of the highest factors for their metabolism back to normal after being panic. Something to think about. So every time you scare one of these animals and make them run away, you are contributing to increasing their chances of not making it through the winter. I mean, it's very sobering. I was heartbroken one day. I was on this road and I got stuck behind a moose, and he was exhausted, and it was horrible because every time I would stop, he would stop. He wouldn't get out of the road. Every time I'd move, he'd start moving, and if I sped up to try to kick him off, he'd just start running too. And you knew just by being there you were good. He looked horrible, right? And see, I had no choice but just sit there. It took over 2 hours to decide to get off the road. Okay, let's see if these guys can be any place to park. It's always scary coming in here because sometimes once you get committed. Minutes to get the snowmobiles off the trailer and get all situated.
Hi. Are they hooked together?
Who's this? Gail ran. Gail? There's Jess.
Locations, including the grow vine. What we're seeing up here are mostly ewes those are females. So they grow a relatively short horn. It is a horn. If you turn it left up the machine, turn it this way, please. It's a relatively short horn. Horn meaning it's a permanent fixture to the skull. It does not fall off annually like antlers do. And the females, the ewes grow these relatively short ones, about 3-4 inches long. Their numbers have been gradually increasing in the grow barn since I've been back here. I'd say there's up to over 100 Hey guys.
How you doing?
Francois Coran, he's actually the owner of the Snowmobile company. There's the day. Not bad to see these guys off the bat. Yeah. Behind us by battle. Task in the winter is actually taking naturalists, photographers back here to photograph these guys. In most places to see these guys, I mean, they have horror stories about spending 6 weeks in the backcountry, you know, tracking through feet of snow and having a miserable experience, and they always go crazy because here they can just set up their cameras right on the road and just take pictures for hours. So you really should feel very special to be able to see these animals.
There you go. There you go over there. Look.
Mabel, how old is that one?
125 of them.
Is your watch set right?
Mabel, how old is that one?
It takes 8 years for them to get.
Anyway, how old is that one?
Is your watch still on our time or what?
Huh?
Has your watch been set right?
No, I have 25 pictures taken of it.
Yeah, we gotta get back on.
I thought you said it was 125 already. We took a bunch yesterday, babe.
Yeah, I did.
Like the trees do as far as the the age of the horn, the age of the individual. These are the animals that are responsible for that wonderful mating behavior. Two rams coming full charge to each other, crashing about the head. The size of the horn plays a big part of it. They don't like doing that because it takes a lot of energy. And in the fall, these guys collect harems just like elk do, trying to collect females, individuals. And the males, of course, are going to try to hold those females and fend them off for the males. And there's a lot of display that takes place, and each showing each other their horns. And of course, the animal with the bigger horns is usually given is dominant, and the ram with the smaller horn will be submissive to that ram. However, if you have two rams that have very equally sized horns, that's when you get those wonderful displays when they crash into each other. They actually have a double skull, which helps protect the forces that they muster against each other. And sometimes they will ram like that all day long until one finally gets too tired to go on, and the dominant ram will go on. Sometimes they hit so hard they actually lose.
It's in the back of that backpack.
Anybody need binoculars?
You like it so far?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
We'll go ahead and push on and.
There's a ram there.
He's up on the side of the hill here.
There's a couple right there.
Yeah. There was a couple on the side of the hill. I didn't see the ram, but you did. We'll go scout for him on the way back.
Horses are on the other side of you, Dad.
And then I got this. There's some right there. This is somebody's ranch, I think. We're heading for dinner, lunch, or whatever. The road's not that wide. I don't think I'd want to drive far. He said the guy wanted to keep the road cleared off because he got people coming in for Christmas. The rancher does. Let's drive it now. Don't run me off the cliff.
with that front disc moving through, the Tetons are slowly visible in the background. Hopefully help me back. But these hills right here are called the Red Hills. And it's fun to talk about geology because most people ask me how to get that color. One of the very interesting things about the Grovant and all of the rock that we're going to see today is that it's all sedimentary rock, and most of it is marine in nature. That is, it was laid down in oceans or down in seas. 500 million years ago, Wyoming, what is now Wyoming, was much closer to the equator, and for most of the last 400 million years, there was kind of a mid-continental ocean, mid-continental sea that existed over Wyoming. And its shores would recede and go back and forth over the millennia. But thousands and thousands of feet of marine deposit, Jurassic period. That red color comes from iron oxides, which are in the rock. It's all sandstone right here. And as we move further to the east, we're going to get to progressively younger rock. By the time we get to the ranch, the rock is mostly going to be a gray sandstone, which was laid down during the Jurassic period, or down the middle and late ages of the dinosaurs. And in fact, we won't be able to do it today, but if you go dig around in some of that sediment rock, you can actually pull out fossilized oyster shells from 150 million years ago.
Wow.
Which is pretty fun. About 100 million years ago. And that force basically crushed the earth here, causing pressure. And the Grovant Mountains were pretty much born about 50 million years ago. Re-exposed all this rock. Again, it's a very neat area geologically because there's so much going on. The Teton range right behind us, that was formed by very different forces. The Tetons are a very young mountain range, only about 10 million years old. The rock itself is very old, about 3.5 billion years old. It's only been exposed in the last 10 million years. And that right there is a fault line right along the base of the Tetons. There's forces pushing the mountains up, and then also forces pushing the valley down. And they're still rising at about a half an inch every 100 years. So it's a very, very active area geologically. In fact, this area, along with Yellowstone, is considered mossy areas. They had 4 toes in front and 3 in the back. And as the whole climate of the West changed from that to more open plains, going from vegetative areas to more grasslands, this little dog-sized creature adapted too. It no longer needed. It was turning from a forested animal to a plains animal, and developed longer legs, longer necks, a different kind of mouth for digesting grasses rather than plants, leaves. And the horse evolved here. And of course, over the millennia, there's been different land bridges from here to Asia, and the horse migrated to Asia through those land bridges. And then around 10,000 years ago, for reasons we're still not sure, the horse became extinct in North America, completely died out. There are those who actually think there's a connection between the extinction of a lot of mammals, like the horse, like the mammoths, like the saber-toothed tiger off the land bridge. But it wasn't until the Spanish came back to North America and brought the horse back that it came. Further down, if anybody needs to use the restroom, we've got very, very modern laboratorial facilities. Lots of what's one the Forest Service.
Spent around here. Probably a lot of cowboy movies are made around here. It looks like it on.
Is like the hand.
What's that?
Is that orange?
Yeah. Again, you can sometimes you're getting too much heat or not enough.
Not enough.
Try that instead. Sometimes the high circuit breaks and the low's actually warmer than the high.
Okay.
Keep trying it. How are your hands doing? Are they cold or?
Mine are. My thumb is. My thumb are, yeah.
Okay. Put your thumb things on. So I do have those little heat packs. If you want to try those, let me know.
My feet are cold.
Where's the thumb thing heat up at? Where's that?
Right there.
It's actually, where's it come out at, right?
Want to try some one of these things?
I have some in, but they're like not working.
Not working well. And we don't see a moose before. Probably won't see the moose till after lunch. We'll see. Again, it's hard to make promises because I can't predict what these guys are going to do, but we usually see a moose or two.
It's like something from a western or something out here.
It is, my opinion, the most gorgeous area in Wyoming.
It's pretty. How many westerns is in there? Is this just one?
There's actually two.
Okay.
There's actually three now, I guess. They put this little guy in as well.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead and...
Where you at? Okay.
Right with you.
Gil and Gil.
You gotta beat the other guy in. That's the deal.
something over there.
Just in case we don't, might as well stop now. We have a few elk over here. I don't know if you noticed, there's also a number along the Grove on as we were driving by.
Let me see.
We do have somewhere around 600 or 700 elk that will winter in the Grove on area. And we do have a few fabulous refuges. We do supplement the two. There's one right across this hill right here. There's one we'll actually pass right by where hopefully there'll be a few elk there. They haven't started the feeding yet, so where to find them can be a little bit sporadic. But if I stop here and we look at these, that means we'll see some further down the road. If I don't, that'll be the last chance we get. You're never where you want to be.
shutter speed from the bright sun, I hope. Turns out.
times
Yeah.
after we come down?
I couldn't hardly. I was trying to film, but I was turned around the wrong way.
Yeah, no.
I put it back on the slow speed, though, on the fast speed, so it ought to take better pictures. It's like something you see in a western, ain't it?
Yeah, man. Awesome.
I'm glad we did this. Ain't you? God, it's a little deep right here. I seen somebody rolling down there a while ago. Did you guys have a good time?
Oh, yeah. On the way back, though.
Yeah, I did too. I get to drive on the way back too. I'm telling Gil. Well, Gil and Wayne can switch on the way back. I'm driving. I'll let one of them film a little bit. Well, I like filming though. I might let them drive halfway. So I can film a Teton some more. You see it? Beautiful out here.